Lena had been a medic for 7 years, working on the colony ship Sunlight Voyager. Her job was never quiet, but it was usually predictable: small injuries, routine health checks, and the occasional emergency when someone had an accident in the ship's workshop. She was used to caring for people she knew, people who spoke her language and trusted her with their lives. This day was supposed to be a short supply run. The ship had landed on the outer edge of a small asteroid field, and Lena had taken a shuttle to collect rare plants from a nearby moon. Those plants were needed for making medicine, and she enjoyed the peaceful work of harvesting them. As her shuttle floated toward the moon's surface, her scanner picked up something strange. It was a weak, flickering signal. A distress beacon. Lena frowned. This moon had never been mapped, and there were no records of anyone living here. She hesitated, checking her fuel and supplies. She had enough to make a short detour. The signal kept beeping, steady but faint, like a call for help from far away. Lena adjusted her flight path and headed toward it. The closer she got, the more she noticed the moon's strange beauty. Its surface was covered in soft hills and valleys, glowing faintly in green and blue light. Strange plants swayed gently, even though there was no wind. The air outside was thin but breathable, according to her suit's sensors. When she landed, she stepped out onto soil that shimmered under her boots. The ground felt almost alive. The distress beacon's signal grew stronger, guiding her across a narrow ridge and down into a valley. There, she froze. Lying in the middle of the valley was a massive creature, unlike anything she had ever seen. It looked like something from old Earth legends, a dragon. But this one was not made of fire and shadow. Its scales shone in shifting colors like oil on water. Its wings were large and folded against its body. Its head rested on the ground, and its breathing was slow and uneven. For a moment, Lena could not move. She had studied many alien species in medical training, but nothing in her books had looked like this. The creature's chest rose and fell in a painful rhythm, and a deep wound ran along its side. Her first thought was that she should leave. This was clearly dangerous. If it woke up in pain, it could harm her without meaning to. But then she saw its eyes, half open, looking directly at her. There was something in that gaze that stopped her from turning away. It was not just the look of an animal. There was intelligence there, and something else too. A silent plea. Lena's hand went to the medical bag on her shoulder. She had only one fully stocked first aid kit left. The colony needed it. On the way back from this trip, she had planned to treat a worker with a deep infection. Without the kit, she might not be able to save him. She stood there, torn between two lives, the life of a person she knew and the life of this unknown being. The air around her was quiet, the only sound the slow, labored breathing of the creature before her. Her training told her that all life had value. Her heart told her that she could not just walk away. Taking a deep breath, she knelt beside the dragon. The wound was worse than she had thought. It was deep and still bleeding, though slowly. Whatever had caused it was not natural. The edges of the injury were scorched, as if from an energy weapon. That meant someone, or something, had attacked it. Lena opened her kit and got to work. She used a clotting agent first, pressing it into the wound with steady hands. The dragon flinched, but did not pull away. She then applied a layer of sealant and wrapped the injury with a self-tightening bandage. The dragon's breathing eased, slightly. She worked for over an hour, cleaning smaller cuts, checking for broken bones, and even giving it a small amount of oxygen through a portable mask. She did not know if its body worked the same way as a human's, but she hoped the extra air would help. By the time she finished, the kit was empty. Lena sat back on her heels, exhausted. Her hands were shaking and she could feel the weight of her choice. She had nothing left for the worker back at the colony. She told herself she would find another way to help him. The dragon's eyes closed. Fully now, but its breathing was smoother. A strange, soft sound came from its throat. Not a growl, but something gentle, almost like a thank you. The sun, or whatever this moon's star was, began to set. The light turned the valley gold, and the glowing plants became brighter. Lena felt a strange calm. She did not know if the dragon would survive, but she had given it a chance. She decided to stay nearby until morning, setting up a small camp. A few steps away, she kept her helmet open, enjoying the fresh, cool air. The dragon remained still, its chest rising and falling steadily. For the first time that day, Lena allowed herself to rest, not knowing that this choice would change her life and connect her to worlds she had never imagined. Lena woke up early, the light of the rising sun spilling across the valley. Her small camp stove had gone cold in the night, and she felt the chill of the thin air. She glanced toward the dragon. It had not moved much, but its breathing was steady. The bandage around its side still held in place, and the glowing scales seemed less dim than before. She checked her wrist scanner. It had been almost 12 hours since she landed here. The colony would expect her return soon. She needed to gather the plants she had come for and head back. But she could not ignore the truth. Her first aid kit was empty. She had used the last of her best medical supplies on this creature. Back at the colony, a worker named Bren still needed treatment for an infection. She had promised to help him. Without her kit, she would have to improvise, and that might not be enough. Her mind argued with itself. One part told her she had done the wrong thing. The other insisted that she could not have abandoned the dragon. She tried to convince herself that she had simply followed her training to help whoever or whatever needed aid. Yet deep inside, she knew it had been more than that. The way the dragon had looked at her the day before had stirred something in her heart. It was not the gaze of an ordinary animal. It had felt as if there was understanding, even trust in those eyes. Lena walked closer to it. The dragon opened one eye slightly, watching her. Its gaze was calmer now, almost peaceful. She spoke softly, even though she knew it might not understand her. "You will be fine. You have to be," she said. She wanted to leave, but her feet did not move. The idea of abandoning it while it was still weak felt wrong. She had seen patients survive the night only to fade away the next day. If the dragon's wound reopened, or if another predator came, it would have no chance. The wind shifted, carrying a faint sound through the valley. Lena froze and listened. It was far away but clear enough, a low hum, mechanical and steady. It reminded her of engines. She scanned the horizon. The hum grew louder and small shapes appeared in the sky. They were not colony shuttles. These ships were sleeker, longer, with silver hulls that reflected the morning light. Her first thought was to hide. She did not know if these newcomers were friendly. She looked at the dragon. It seemed to recognize the sound, its head lifting slightly. A deep, rumbling breath escaped from its chest. The ships descended slowly, 3 of them, moving as if in perfect formation. They landed in the open field just beyond the valley. The sound of their engines faded, replaced by silence. Lena's heart pounded as figures began to step out of the ships. They were tall and slender, with skin in pale shades that seemed to glow faintly under the sunlight. Their faces were smooth, with high cheekbones and markings that shimmered in soft patterns. They wore long robes or fitted suits that looked far more advanced than anything Lena had seen in the colony. The strangers moved toward the dragon with graceful steps. None of them carried visible weapons. They stopped a few paces away from Lena, their eyes moving from her to the wounded creature. One of them, wearing a robe of soft gold, stepped forward. They placed a hand over their chest and bowed slightly to her. The gesture felt respectful, almost ceremonial. The robed figure spoke in a language Lena had never heard. The sounds were smooth and musical, but she could not understand the meaning. She shook her head to show she did not know their words. The figure tried again, slower, and this time mixed in a few words of standard, though the accent was heavy. You, heal. Sacred One? They asked, pointing gently at the dragon. Lena hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I did what I could. The group exchanged soft, quick words among themselves. The robed figure stepped closer, their expression serious, but warm. Last healer tools? All for Sacred One? They asked. She knew what they meant. They were asking if she had used her last supplies for the dragon. She nodded again. Yes, I couldn't let it die. The robed figure's face lit, with a kind of quiet joy. They spoke a long phrase in their language, and the others bowed their heads toward her. She felt confused, but also strangely honored. The strangers then began tending to the dragon. They moved with great care, using devices that hummed softly and emitted light. The dragon allowed them to work without resistance. Lena stepped back, feeling her shoulders relax. Whoever these beings were, they clearly cared about the creature. After a while, the robed figure approached her again. They touched her shoulder lightly, a gesture that seemed to carry deep meaning for them. Holy healer, they said in halting standard, looking at her with great respect. Lena blinked in surprise. I'm just a medic, she replied. But they only smiled and repeated, Holy healer. Something told her that to them, this was not just a title. It was an honor, one she had not expected and did not fully understand. She looked once more at the dragon, then at the ships. She had come here for medicine plants, but now it seemed her journey had taken a turn she could never have planned. The air in the valley felt different now. Lena stood a few steps away, watching as the tall alien healers worked on the dragon. Their tools were unlike anything she had ever seen. Some were small and shaped like smooth stones that glowed softly. Others looked like thin rods that gave off beams of gentle light. Whenever they touched the dragon's scales with these tools, the wounds seemed to tighten and heal faster. The dragon remained still, its large eyes half closed. Its breathing was slow and steady. Every so often, it would release a deep, low sound from its chest, almost like the distant roll of thunder. Lena felt both relief and curiosity. Relief because it looked like the creature would survive, and curiosity because she still had no idea who these aliens were or why the dragon mattered so much to them. One of the alien healers knelt by the dragon's head and placed both hands gently on its jaw. A faint blue light passed from their palms to the creature. The dragon's eyes slowly opened, revealing a deep, swirling color that seemed to hold the reflection of distant stars. For a long moment, the dragon looked at the alien, then turned, its gaze to Lena. She felt a sudden warmth in her chest, as if the creature's eyes could speak directly to her without words. She could not explain the feeling, but it was as if the dragon knew exactly who she was and what she had done. The robed figure who had spoken to Lena earlier stepped forward. They watched the dragon carefully, then gave a small nod to the others. The healers stepped back, allowing the creature to lift its head. The dragon's neck rose slowly, the scales shifting in the light, sending ripples of color across its body. Its wings moved slightly, testing their strength. A soft rush of air passed over Lena as the tips of the wings opened. Then the dragon let out a sound, a long, deep tone that echoed across the valley. It was not loud or threatening. It was rich, layered, and almost musical. The sound seemed to vibrate through the ground, through the air, and even through Lena's chest. The aliens stood still, heads bowed, as if in respect. Lena did not bow, but she found herself frozen in place, listening. The sound was unlike anything she had heard before. It felt important, like a message carried in music. When the sound faded, the dragon lowered its head slightly toward her. It was a gesture that felt deliberate. She took a step closer, her boots pressing into the glowing grass. "I'm glad you're awake," she said quietly, unsure if the creature could understand her words. The dragon blinked once, slowly, then closed its eyes and lowered its head further until its snout nearly touched the ground. She felt as if it was acknowledging her, thanking her in the only way it could. The robed alien came to stand beside her. "Sacred One, safe," they said in broken standard. "You save life, life of Guardian." "Guardian?" Lena asked. They nodded. "Old protector of many worlds. Last of kind." Her mind spun at the thought. If what they were saying was true, she had saved not just an unusual animal, but the last living member of a species that protected whole worlds. The dragon shifted slightly, curling its massive body so its wings sheltered the area around Lena and the aliens. She noticed that it positioned itself so that she was inside the curve of its wing, as if shielding her from the cool morning wind. She had seen animals protect their young before, but this felt different. It felt intentional. The aliens began to pack their tools, speaking quietly among themselves. Two of them carried devices that scanned the area, while others carefully lifted the pieces of Lena's empty first aid kit and placed them into a small silver box. She guessed they wanted to study her medical supplies. The robed alien turned to her again. "You come," they said simply. "Come where?" she asked. They touched their chest lightly. "Home. We show. We tell story of holy healer." She shook her head slightly. "I'm not holy. I'm just a medic." But they only smiled. "To us, holy." The dragon made another deep sound, shorter this time, almost like agreement. Lena looked from the alien to the dragon. She thought about her colony, about Bren, who still needed help. She would have to return. But she also wanted to understand what had happened here and why this dragon was so important. For now, she decided to wait and see. The morning sun rose higher, painting the sky in soft gold and pale blue. The dragon rested again, but this time, its head remained lifted, its eyes watching the ships as if expecting something. A light wind moved through the valley. The glowing plants swayed gently. Lena stood beside the dragon, feeling strangely at peace. She had made a choice the day before, to use her last supplies on this creature. And now that choice seemed to have opened a path she could not yet see the end of. She did not know that before the next sunset, her life would no longer belong only to the colony. The morning passed slowly, yet the air carried a quiet sense of expectation. Lena stayed near the dragon while the tall alien healers worked, speaking in soft tones she could not understand. The robed figure seemed to be their leader. They moved, with calm authority, checking the dragon's wounds and speaking to it as though it were an old friend. Lena kept looking toward the silver ships parked on the flat field beyond the valley. She had never seen vessels like them. Each ship was smooth and shining, with no sharp edges. The sunlight made their surfaces gleam like water. Even at rest, they gave off a faint hum, as if energy flowed through them at all times. From time to time, the dragon would lift its head and glance toward the ships, then back at Lena. It felt as if it wanted her to know something, though no words passed between them. The robed alien approached her again, their long steps quiet on the grass. "We take you," they said slowly, pointing toward one of the ships. "Take me where?" she asked. The alien touched their chest and then gestured to the sky. "Home. You see? You learn." Lena hesitated. "I can't just leave. My people are waiting for me." The alien tilted their head slightly, as if thinking. Then they said, "We send you back. But first, You come. Sacred One wish. They pointed to the dragon. Lena turned to see the dragon staring at her again. Its eyes were calm but steady, holding her gaze as if urging her forward. She felt the same pull she had felt when she first decided to help it. Before she could answer, the dragon shifted its weight and rose onto its front legs. The movement was slow but powerful, like the rising of a mountain. Its wings unfolded slightly, sending ripples of color across the valley. Then it released a low, rolling sound that spread outward in every direction. The sound was answered. Far above, in the pale sky, shapes began to appear. At first they were tiny, almost like drifting birds. Then they grew larger, revealing themselves as more ships, dozens of them. They came in graceful arcs, their silver hulls catching the light. Lena watched in awe as the new ships descended, surrounding the valley in a wide circle. The air shimmered faintly as they passed through it, like heat waves rising from a road. When the ships landed, more aliens emerged. They were similar in appearance to the first group, but their clothing varied. Some wore robes, others armor-like suits, and some carried small crystal devices in their hands. Yet none looked threatening. In fact, their movements were slow and deliberate, their eyes fixed on the dragon. As the crowd formed around the valley, a hush fell over them. The dragon lifted its head higher and spread its wings fully for the first time since Lena had seen it. The wings caught the sunlight and reflected it in 1,000 colors, as though the sky itself had been painted anew. The aliens lowered their heads in unison. It was not a quick bow, but a long, deep gesture of respect. Lena realized they were honoring the dragon, and perhaps her as well. The robed leader raised a hand, and the crowd parted to create a clear path from the dragon to the nearest ship. Then the leader turned to Lena. "You ride," they said, pointing to the dragon's broad back. "What? No, she began, but the dragon lowered itself to the ground, extending a wing so that she could climb up easily. Her heart raced. She had never been this close to the creature's full height. Carefully, she stepped onto the wing and climbed toward the base of its neck. The scales were smooth but warm, pulsing faintly with light under her hands. When she was seated, the dragon turned its head slightly, as if checking that she was secure. Then, with a slow, steady push, it rose to its feet. The aliens around them moved aside. Some watched with solemn expressions, others with open wonder. The dragon began to walk toward the largest ship in the field. Its steps were heavy but graceful, and Lena could feel the power in each movement. When they reached the ship, a wide ramp lowered to the ground. The dragon climbed it easily, its body fitting into the spacious interior as if the vessel had been built for it. Inside, the walls were smooth and silver, glowing softly with lines of light. The air was warmer here, carrying a faint scent that reminded her of clean rain. The dragon settled into a large circular platform in the center, folding, its wings neatly at its sides. The robed alien entered behind her, accompanied by 2 others. They gestured for her to follow them toward a smaller side chamber. "This place for you," the leader said, showing her a room with a seat, a small table, and a window looking out at the valley. "Why are you doing this?" Lena asked. The leader paused, then said, "Because you save what we could not. You choose, give last, to protect. In our law, that is most pure act. You must see, must know why Sacred One is life of many." Lena sat down slowly. She did not fully understand yet, but she felt the weight of their words. Through the window, she could see the other ships preparing for flight. The dragon rested quietly in the center of the main chamber, its eyes half closed but still alert. The leader's voice was calm when they spoke again. "Soon you will see worlds beyond your sky, and they will see you, holy healer." Lena's hands tightened slightly on the edge of her seat. She had come here for plants and was now leaving with a title she did not believe she deserved. Yet deep inside, she wondered if this journey would show her something greater than she had ever imagined. The hum of the engines grew, and the ship lifted smoothly from the ground. Through the window, the glowing valley began to shrink below them. The moon's surface spread out like a painted map, and beyond it lay the endless dark of space, waiting. Lena did not know where they were going, but she knew one thing. She had crossed a line she could never return from. The ship moved smoothly through the dark space beyond the moon. Lena watched the stars flicker past the wide window in her small room. The quiet hum of the engines was steady and calm. She felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. She had left everything she knew behind to follow strangers and a dragon she barely understood. Outside, the dragon rested on the ship's main platform. It was much larger than Lena had expected. Even in this strange place, it seemed peaceful. She thought about how she had found it hurt and alone. Now it was safe because of her. The robed leader entered the room quietly. Their soft steps made no sound on the smooth floor. They smiled gently at Lena. "You rest now," the leader said. "Tomorrow we talk. You learn." Lena nodded, but sleep did not come easily. Her mind raced with questions. Who were these aliens? Why did they call her the Holy Healer? What was the story of the dragon? What awaited her on their homeworld? When morning came, the ship's light filled her room. Lena dressed quickly and followed the robed leader through corridors that glowed softly with colors she could not name. The walls were smooth and curved. Every step echoed lightly. They reached a large room filled with other aliens. Many of them looked at Lena with curiosity and respect. Some wore bright robes, others simple clothes. Some held small devices that shone like crystals. A tall alien with bright eyes stepped forward. He spoke in careful standard English. "Welcome, Lena," he said. "I am Kale, one of the council leaders on our world. We are grateful for what you have done." Lena bowed her head. "I only did what I could." Kale smiled kindly. "It was more than that. You saved the last of the guardian dragons. They are sacred to us, protectors of life in many systems." Lena listened carefully as Kale explained. The dragon species had once roamed many worlds, keeping balance and peace. Over time, their numbers had fallen. They had become targets for hunters and war machines. "The dragon you saved is a symbol of hope for us," Kale said. "By healing it, you honored a bond older than we can remember." Lena thought about the pain in the dragon's eyes when she first saw it. She understood now that it was more than an animal. It was a living memory of a forgotten time. After the meeting, Kale showed Lena through a window. Below them lay a world unlike any she had seen before. Floating islands drifted above vast forests. Crystals grew from the ground, shining like stars. Rivers of light moved slowly through the air. "This is our home," Kyle said. "A place of peace and knowledge. We want to share it with you." Lena smiled. She felt a new hope growing inside her. Over the next days, Lena learned many things. The aliens taught her about their history, their technology, and their connection with the guardian dragons. She studied their medicine and shared her own knowledge. The dragon grew stronger, often moving through the ship's chambers or resting on the soft floors of the alien homes. Lena felt honored to be part of this strange new world. Yet she also missed her colony and the people who depended on her. She knew she could not stay forever. One evening, while watching the twin moons rise over the crystal forests, Lena spoke with Kale. "I want to go home," she said, "but I also want to help. How can I do both?" Kale looked at her with understanding. "We will help you. The galaxy is larger than you think. There are many worlds in need. You are part of something greater now." Lena nodded. She was ready to face whatever came next. The next morning, she stood beside the dragon as it prepared to leave the ship. The great creature stretched its wings and lowered its head toward her in a silent farewell. Lena touched its smooth scales, gently. "Thank you," she whispered. She climbed aboard another ship, ready to begin a new journey, one that would take her beyond the stars she knew and into a future shaped by hope, healing, and friendship. Lena's journey back to her colony was not like any trip she had ever taken. The ships she traveled in passed through many stars and worlds, each with their own colors and shapes. Some planets were covered in ice, others in deserts or oceans. The people she met were different, too, not like anyone she had ever known before. News of the human who saved the last guardian dragon spread quickly. Everywhere Lena went, beings of many kinds greeted her with respect and kindness. Traders, explorers, and scholars all spoke of her story. They called her the Holy Healer, a title that surprised Lena every time she heard it. She always tried to explain that she was just a medic doing her job, but the name stayed. The aliens who had saved the dragon's life told stories of how she had given everything she had to help a creature that many thought was lost forever. One day, as she walked through a busy market on a distant space station, a small child approached her. The child's eyes were wide with wonder. "Are you the Holy Healer?" the child asked. Lena smiled gently and nodded. "Yes, I am." The child's face lit up. "My mother says you saved the dragon. You are very brave." Lena knelt down to the child's level. "Thank you. It was not bravery. It was just what I had to do." The child's simple words touched her heart. It made Lena realize that her actions had given hope to many, even the youngest among the stars. As she traveled, Lena saw many worlds that needed help. Some planets had diseases that no one could cure. Others suffered from war and hunger. Lena wanted to stay and help everyone, but she knew she could not. Her own colony needed her too. The alien friends who had called her Holy Healer offered to teach her new ways to heal, to help her learn about medicines from across the galaxy. Lena accepted eagerly. She spent hours in their libraries and labs, learning about plants, crystals, and healing technologies far beyond her old knowledge. She also shared her own skills and stories. The aliens listened with respect and asked many questions about Earth and human medicine. Lena felt proud to be a bridge between worlds. Back in her colony, things were changing. Trade ships arrived from distant systems, bringing new goods and ideas. People from other planets came to visit, curious about the human who had healed a dragon. Lena found herself at the center of attention, not because she wanted it, but because her choice had made a difference. Her friends and family were proud of her, but Lena still felt humble. She knew she had only done what anyone would have done in her place. She wanted to keep working quietly, helping those around her. One evening, Lena stood on a hill overlooking her colony. The stars shone brightly, reminding her of the vast galaxy she had seen. She thought about the dragon, the alien healers, and the many lives touched by her act of kindness. She understood now that being called Holy Healer was not just a name. It was a promise to care for others, to heal without asking for reward, and to bring hope wherever she went. Lena smiled softly. She was ready for the future, whatever it might bring. Lena stood at the edge of her colony's landing field, watching as ships from many worlds came and went. The once small and quiet place was now alive with visitors from distant planets. Trade ships brought goods and stories. Scientists shared knowledge. Travelers came to meet the human who had saved the last guardian dragon. Lena had changed too. She was still a medic, caring for those in need, but now she carried more than just medicines and bandages. She carried the trust of many worlds and the hope of a better future. Her days were busy. She treated patients with new medicines she had learned about. She worked with alien doctors who visited the colony, learning from each other. Sometimes she gave talks about healing, kindness, and courage. People listened, inspired by her story. One afternoon, a group of children gathered around her in the colony's park. They asked questions about the dragon and the stars. Lena smiled and told them about her journey. She told them how one choice, made in a quiet valley, had changed everything. A young girl looked up at her with bright eyes. "Will you ever fly on the dragon again?" she asked. Lena laughed softly. "I hope so, but even if I do not, the dragon's spirit is with me." Life at the colony was better now. The people were healthier, stronger, and more connected to the galaxy. Lena felt proud to be part of this new era. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Lena received a message from the alien healers. They invited her to visit their homeworld again. They said new challenges had come and they needed her help. Lena thought about the colony, her family, and her friends. She also thought about the dragon, the galaxy, and the many lives she could touch. She made her decision. The next morning, Lena prepared for another journey. This time, she was not alone. The people of her colony came to say goodbye. They gave her gifts, words of thanks, and promises to carry on her work. As she boarded the ship, Lena looked back once more. She knew she was stepping onto a new path, one that would lead her far beyond anything she had known. But she was ready. With a heart full of hope and hands ready to heal, Lena took off into the stars. Her story was no longer just hers. It was the story of a galaxy that believed in kindness, courage, and the power of one person to change everything.